The entire Bible encodes initiation, not execution. I'm not saying any of these events literally happened. I'm just pointing out that the Bible preserves this ancient mystery rite in great detail. To die and come back to life with full volition of awareness is what it truly means to be a Christ, an anointed one. Eve gets her eyes opened by the serpent after eating the fruit, which is the catalytic agent required for transformation called a death inducer. But this is only half of the initiation process. One needs to consume not only the killer, but the bringer back, which is the galene. Combine those together and you get theriac, also called the burning purple, because it literally burns by the touch. It was a real multi-component elixir containing venoms and poisons from plants and animals. This was real resurrection technology, which makes Jesus a literal pharmacist, not a holy magician. This is why the Salvator Mundi painting by Leonardo da Vinci is Jesus Christ as a seer. That's why he's holding a crystal ball, because that's what he is, a magus. These were the seers, the diviners, the prophets. So Jesus went around healing and resurrecting and casting demons out of people. He was preventing them from overdosing. That's the resurrection. People were Christing themselves in order to be born again. Everyone knew you couldn't truly live unless you died. It's a near-death experience, a transformation, and an upgrade of consciousness. They ingested pharmaca and performed self-enchrystation. So Jesus went around with his disciples like a mobile pharmacy, providing the galene for the failed initiates. Galene just means the calm after the storm. It's what balances the venom, to allow it to work its magic without any of the negative symptoms. Moses also gets initiated. He climbs up Mount Sinai, and then he comes back down with light beams as horns, and a shining face so radiant that he had to cover it with a veil. He received divine insight after contact with the void, then descending. Jesus was given a balancer to the venom, represented by the sour wine given to him on a stick at the crucifixion. One of the 7 things Jesus said on the cross was that he thirsts. And he said it right on cue because he drank the theriac, poison and cure, which contained the venom of a specific viper called the African horned viper, which causes dehydration and extreme thirst. Therefore, Jesus didn't die from crucifixion. He had an ego death from ritual consumption. The word Christ comes from Greek krio, which means to apply a substance to the skin at the most sensitive areas, and even the eyes so that they may be opened. When Jesus is in the Garden of Gethsemane, he says, "Let this cup pass." It is not a prayer, but initiatory language, referencing the divinatory ordeal associated with prophetic vision. Prophecy does not come from communication with a distant God, but from unidentification with mind and body. Vision arises on the return from the void, not within it. Resurrection signifies return from the threshold with integrated awareness. The tearing of the temple veil signifies that the inner door is now open. What was once external ritual, what was once hidden in the inner sanctum, is now internally accessible without priestly mediation. That's why Jesus says after resurrection, "I and my Father are one." The cross of the crucifixion marks the crossing of the threshold, and what is called the crucifixion functions symbolically as a public initiation ritual. The cup in the garden is the catalytic agent, the ordeal that induces catalytic knowing. The agony and the prayer is the ego death. The 3 hours of darkness marks entry into the void, and the resurrection is the return with awareness intact. Jesus is stripped, whipped, humiliated, mocked as King of the Jews, and suspended between worlds. Classic markers of initiation and ego death. Jesus is presented as an initiate who has successfully crossed the threshold and now has the ability to shift his awareness to whatever background he chooses, mind-based or body-based, sensory or imaginal. This is what I call meta-state mastery.